With summer approaching, the season of competition is on the horizon, which means it's time for a new PokeRogue challenge. And this time, it's all about sports, specifically Olympic sports. I've seen this suggestion a few times, and the idea was interesting enough that I wanted to give it a go. And much like other challenges I've done, it presented an opportunity to give some lesser used Pokemon a chance to shine. This time, there are plenty of candidates to choose from. Fighting types alone can fit several different categories, before you consider track and field, aquatics, and more. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. The rules for this challenge are as follows. Every Pokemon I use must represent or be a suitable competitor for an Olympic sport, of which there are many. But see if you can guess what sport I've chosen for each of the Pokemon on my team. And of course, the other usual rules will be in play as well. No starters that cost 6 or more points, and no resetting battles. So let's introduce the team, starting off with Ledecky the Wishy-Washy. No prizes for guessing that this is our aquatics representative, but Wishy-Washy brings a lot to the table. For starters, Wishy-Washy only costs me a single point, making it one of the cheapest team members to bring along. But when Wishy-Washy is in school form, it boasts incredible stats in everything but speed and HP, far above anything else we'll have at our disposal. While its speed would be a problem, Wishy-Washy has the egg move Water Shuriken, allowing us to bypass that low speed with priority. And last but not least, the passive ability Regenerator allows Wishy-Washy to maintain its school form after it switches out, making it much more useful if it drops to low HP in important battles. And in case it isn't clear, the specific aquatic sport that Wishy-Washy represents is synchronized swimming. Can you see why this is such a fun theme yet? Next up is a classic starter Pokemon, and one of my personal favourites, Rowlet. Named after Australian archer Simon Fairweather, Simon the Rowlet possesses several useful egg moves in Thousand Arrows, First Impression, and Shadow Bone, all of which are strong moves with good coverage and unique advantages. Its passive ability is Wind Rider, which offers immunity to wind moves, and boosts its attack if hit by one, which can be useful for protecting against specific moves including many flying type moves. But there is one other important thing to note with Rowlet. The represented sport here is archery, but Dartrix has a split evolution between the Alolan and Hisuian Decidueye. We'll be using Alolan Decidueye specifically, and I'll clarify how this evolution works once the run is underway. Regardless, Decidueye's role in the team will be providing offensive coverage, valuable immunities, and some decent physical attacking capability. Next up is Cyclizar, and I really hope that this one doesn't need explaining. Bradley the Cyclizar is one of the more expensive starters in the team, but it comes with one of the most unique passive abilities to play with, Protean. This is Gen 6 to 8 Protean, that changes the user's typing whenever they use a move, rather than just the first time. Protean is an exceptional ability that can help cover one of the big weaknesses of my team, which is overlapping typings among my Pokemon. Not only that, Cyclizar learns one of the best setup moves in the entire game, Shift Gear. With this, Cyclizar's game plan is to set up with Shift Gear and use its coverage moves in Protean to sweep through teams and protect itself with advantageous type matchups. For number 4, it's a Pokemon near and dear to my heart. Meet Raygun, the Lotad, representing the Olympic sport we lost too soon, breaking. Lotad is a really interesting starter, which is defined by its choice of abilities. The passive ability Drizzle makes it a rain setter, pairing nicely with both Wishy-Washy and Rowlet. But for its regular ability, we have the choice of Rain Dish or Swift Swim. The former providing a bit of extra healing, while the latter boosts its speed and turns Raygun into a viable sweeper. I'll be opting for Rain Dish, as I want some extra bulk on the team, and this healing can be quite considerable alongside things like Leech Seed and Leftovers. Beyond that, Lotad can deal great damage early on with powerful egg moves in Water-type Revelation Dance, Apple Acid, and Ice Beam. And last but not least, we have Tyrogue. As I mentioned, there are plenty of fighting types that would be a good fit for this challenge, but I'll be opting for Hitmonchan. Naturally, Hitmonchan is here to represent boxing, but it also comes with a number of appealing traits. First and foremost is Victory Dance, a powerful setup move that can turn Hitmonchan into a fearsome sweeper. Beyond that, we have 2 other strong egg moves in Thunderous Kick and Meteor Mash, along with the numerous coverage options Hitmonchan has access to in Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, and Ice Punch. And last but certainly not least, is its passive ability Moxie. If Hitmonchan can set up once and land a KO, it'll become a near unstoppable threat with immense attack and speed. With its offensive prowess, strong setup capability, and fantastic coverage, Hitmonchan will be one of our greatest answers to some of the challenge's toughest opponents. With these 5 Pokemon, I've reached my 10-point limit, but there are plenty of other great candidates who fit the theme of the challenge. If you're keen to try a similar challenge yourself, you could also consider Cinderace for football or soccer, Throw for judo, Goldengo for skateboarding, Inteleon for shooting, Mantine or Alolan Raichu for surfing, Incineroar for wrestling, Dodrio for track and field, or Sirfetch'd for fencing. I'm sure there are plenty of other great ideas, so let me know in the comments if you give this challenge a go yourself, and tell me what your team was. And while we're at it, let me know if you prefer these theme-inspired teams, or more typical challenges based on typings. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, this challenge was streamed live on my Twitch page, so be sure to follow me there if you ever want to see one of these challenges early. I'm planning to stream Pokemon, Fire Emblem, and more, so check it out if you're interested. So kicking things off with stage 1, my early priorities are twofold. First, getting Wishy-Washy to level 20. Until Wishy-Washy hits level 20, it'll be locked to its solo form, which boasts a whopping 175 base stat total. Fun fact, in this form, Wishy-Washy has the lowest BST of all Pokemon in existence, so naturally I'm keen to fix this as soon as possible. I sweep through the early battles with Water Shuriken, picking up berries, rare candies, and experience charms for the first few item rewards. Ivy awaits at floor 8, and this time she has a Piplup and a Rookidee, both of which may give me trouble later on, but for now she poses little problem. After dealing with the Poochyena at floor 10, I hurry on to the next stage to continue the Wishy-Washy sweep. While the biome has changed, my priorities have not, though unfortunately the item rewards leave a lot to be desired. Wishy-Washy faints to a careless mistake, so I invest some experience into my other team members, Cyclizar and Rowlet. And finally, at floor 16, I find my first interesting reward, a TM for Supercell Slam. Only Cyclizar can learn it, but as Electric type only has one weakness, this is a great tool to take advantage of with Protean. I replace Growl and proceed to our first mystery encounter of the run. We find an uncommon Yungoos that knows a special move, but neither myself nor the live chat could muster any fair arguments for an Olympic sport that Yungoos could participate in. So I take it down with only a little difficulty. But thankfully we're right near the end of the stage, and Sillin is waiting for us at the final floor. Cyclizar's Fire Lash is an easy answer to his grass types, so we progress to the next stage unscathed. Stage 3 takes us to the Metropolis, and at floor 23 I find the first real exciting pickup of the run, a Grip Claw. This is especially effective with multi-hit moves like Water Shuriken, so I give it to Wishy-Washy, who still remains one of my highest level Pokemon. I start the second rival battle with Ivy at floor 25, taking down her Prinplup with Wishy-Washy's Freeze Dry, and with the experience from this knockout, Tyrogue hits level 10, where it tries to learn 3 moves, Low Sweep, Mach Punch, and Rapid Spin. If Tyrogue knows one of these moves at level 20, it will evolve into the corresponding evolution, so I make sure to learn Mach Punch in place of Fake Out. Cyclizar takes down Ivy's remaining 2 party members, a Stonjourner and Corvisquire. And on the next floor, Lotad evolves into Lombre, and I give it the first Vitamin of the run. Rowlet evolves into Dartrix on the following floor, and Wishy-Washy also finally hits level 20, meaning now it'll enter battle in its school form. Last but not least, I find a Shell Bell on floor 29, which I give to Ludicolo to maximize its healing. With these much needed boosts to my strength, I'm able to clear the remaining battles without much trouble. The villain team awaits, and at floor 32 we find another mystery encounter, the Part-Timer event. Here we can have our Pokemon assist with some manual labor, and will receive a boost based on the task we choose and what our helper's stats are. I choose Cyclizar as many of the other Pokemon are missing form changes or evolutions to improve their stats, and I receive a bit of money for my trouble, though Cyclizar's move PP is set to 2 across the board. I'm sure this won't be an issue later on. On the next floor, I find a Relic Gold, and encounter a Team Magma Grunt at floor 35. This is actually a pretty good matchup for me, as I've got strong water types in Wishy-Washy and Lombre, as well as Weather Control. Cyclizar tries to learn U-Turn, which could be useful, but as Cyclizar's role later on will be a setup sweeper, I turn it down. At floor 36, Tyrogue evolves into Hitmonchan, and now I can finally start building a strong moveset for it. I replace Mach Punch with Drain Punch, and nab a Dynamax band from the item rewards to thin out the rogue tier pool. Plus, I may find a 6th team member who is able to Dynamax later on. For stage 5, we're at the construction site, and now that Wishy-Washy is in its school form, I can sweep through most encounters pretty easily with Water Shuriken. I deal with a trainer battle on floor 43, and Hitmonchan learns the elemental punching moves, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, and Fire Punch. In an ideal world, I would learn all of these moves, but many of Hitmonchan's current moves are essential, so I ignore them for now. And at floor 44, we have a familiar event, dancing lessons with a pom-pom style Oricorio. I don't need Revelation Dance on any of my Pokemon, as my special attackers already have strong moves with same type attack bonus. And while there was a shaky argument along the lines of gymnastics for Oricorio, it didn't really fit the theme of the challenge, so I chose to battle it instead. I lead with Cyclizar and use Parting Shot to reduce its attacking stats, as it receives a +1 boost to every stat at the start of the battle. But the Oricorio still manages to take down my Lombre, Wishy-Washy, and Cyclizar while surviving at low HP. Dartrix goes down as well, and for a moment it looks as though I've gotten complacent. But Hitmonchan somehow manages to survive with 1 HP before taking it down with Thunderous Kick. I spare no expense healing out my team, and count my blessings that I didn't get swept by an Oricorio. I claim the baton from my rewards for Hitmonchan, as Victory Dance is my best setup option for now. I also find a new item at floor 47, a Mystical Rock. This item extends the duration of terrain and weather by 2 turns, making it an obvious pickup for Lombre. I also find an Experience Charm on the following floor, as well as a PP up which I use on Hitmonchan's Thunderous Kick. Chuck stands before me at floor 50, but thankfully there's nothing he can do to Hitmonchan after a Victory Dance. I sweep through his team with ease, and at the end of the battle, Dartrix evolves into Decidueye, specifically a Lowland Decidueye. This was actually quite lucky. In PokeRogue, the starters can evolve into Hisuian forms if they evolve during the nighttime, and the time of day cycles in a loop every 40 waves. Thankfully, my Dartrix was evolving during the day, as otherwise I would have had to delay the evolution for at least another stage or 2, since Hisuian Decidueye doesn't have the same archery theme that makes a Lowland Decidueye eligible for the challenge. With that, we finish with the tricky evolutions, and I progress to the power plant. Stage 6 starts with an unexpected surprise, a shiny Charjabug. While a great pickup as I didn't have this shiny Pokemon yet, I couldn't think of any possible argument in favour of Charjabug's addition to the team, so I catch it and release it on the following floor. But that's not all. On floor 52, Cyclizar learns Shift Gear at long last. I replaced Dragonclaw for it as having a Dragon-type move is less important as an attacking option with Protean. I also learned Leech Seed in place of Mega Drain on Lombre, and find a Master Ball in my item rewards. Decidueye takes the lead to deal with the wild Pokemon, and I find a Water Stone just before the battle against Ivy to secure my final evolution. She switches her Corviknight in to tank a hit from Decidueye, but I pivot to Cyclizar and set up a Shift Gear. While I'm able to take down Corviknight, Cyclizar falls to Stonjourner, so I bring in Hitmonchan to set up a Victory Dance and sweep through the rest of her team, defeating Agumi, Empoleon, and Stonjourner with ease. I teach Decidueye Leaf Blade after the battle and find the map at floor 56, and it's around this point I finally grace my team with their nicknames. With everything sorted, I clear the remaining floors with no major challenges and continue onwards. I find myself in the factory for stage 7, so I continue leading with Decidueye before meeting with more Team Magma Grunts. Simon tries to learn Feather Dance, which almost tempts me for some of the boss opponents in future, but I stick with my current moveset. After taking down the Grunts on floors 62 and 64, I face off with Admin Tabitha at floor 66, who can't do much against Cyclizar after a couple of Shift Gears. I collect rare candies and potions from the item rewards to keep my team strong and healthy, before dispatching the Klinklang at floor 70 to finish an uneventful stage. But at stage 8, we return to the plains and face another mystery encounter. It's a slumbering Snorlax, who we have to defeat if we hope to pass. Thankfully, Hitmonchan is the perfect answer to this, so I muscle through the battle and collect a leftovers for Ludicolo as my reward. With Hitmonchan's stats boosted after the battle, I continue to sweep through wild Pokemon and a trainer at floor 73. At floor 75, I find a Mega Bracelet. Once again, this doesn't do anything for the team, but it does remove an item from the Rogue tier item pool, to hopefully improve my later pickups. I also find a Black Belt for Hitmonchan at floor 77, and a second mystery encounter at floor 79. It's the Mysterious Challengers, and I recognize the gym leader as Generation 5's Fire-type trainer Chili immediately. Confident in my Water types, I go for it, and lead with Ludicolo to set up the Rain. With Rain-boosted Revelation Dance, I manage to sweep through his Lampert, Darmanitan, Emboar, Delphox, Simisear, and Camerupt. I claim a Berry Pouch from my rewards, only to find his brother Cress on the very next floor. Though thankfully, these Pokemon are lower level, and Raygun is just as strong against water types. I take down Kingdra, Slowking, Simipour, and Seismitoad with Apple Acid, finishing the stage with ease and moving onwards to the lake. My main reason for choosing the lake for stage 9 was to leverage my good type matchups against water types. But on floor 82, I find something I hadn't anticipated, a wild Wishy-Washy. As I'm already using one on the team, it clearly fits the theme requirements, so I catch it to bring my team up to a full 6 Pokemon. While I don't expect the extra Wishy-Washy to be too useful in combat, having a free Pokemon to sacrifice if needed can be very useful in boss battles. As for the rest of the stage, there's not a lot to write home about. Most of the item rewards contain common consumables, though I do find a PP up for Raygun's Apple Acid as well as a Quick Claw for Wishy-Washy, which should be useful whenever I need to use a move other than Water Shuriken. With that, I wrap up the stage and move onwards to the beach, where I'll face off against Ivy once again. While I'm on the lookout for any easy power pickups before floor 95, I don't find much. I nab a Dire Hit and a couple of berries before it's time to battle Ivy. I lead with Raygun and use Leech Seed, expecting her to switch out her Empoleon, and I'm right. Dragapult comes in, who I take down with Ice Beam while keeping relatively healthy, though Corviknight poses more of a threat. Thankfully, it decides to use Steel Beam first, cutting its HP by a huge amount and allowing me to KO with Revelation Dance. When she switches back into Empoleon, I know she's run out of answers to Ludicolo. I slowly but surely dismantle her team, taking down her starter as well as Snorlax and Stonjourner, receiving the Terra Orb after the battle. Terastallization is a little bit different now, as it works exactly how it does in Scarlet and Violet, so I'll be taking advantage of it much more in this challenge. I grab an Experience Charm and a Master Ball on the following floors, but a mystery event at floor 97 stops me in my tracks. A shadowy figure offers a nefarious bargain, and I have 3 choices. The first will transform all of my Pokemon into new random Pokemon, with new typings based on both the old and new Pokemon. As there's no guarantee that any of these Pokemon would fit the theme of the challenge after a transformation, this choice is impossible. But if I try to leave, all of my Pokemon will have their level reduced. So instead I take the third option, to battle the team that I would have were I to accept the offer. Raygun takes down the first few Pokemon, a Zoroark and a Tadpole, without much trouble, but a Pangoro takes her down with Hammer Arm. I switch to Little Mac the Hitmonchan, and after a Victory Dance, I'm able to sweep through the battle, taking down the Pangoro as well as a Skitty, Togekiss and Zeraora. But fortunately, the rewards from this battle are quite lucrative. I claim a Relic Gold and clear the rest of the stage with Decidueye. Stage 11 marks the halfway point, and the next major challenge will be the rematches with Team Magma. I use Hitmonchan to clear wild Pokemon and claim healing items from the rewards to keep him healthy, before taking down a trainer at floor 103. At floor 105, I find my first Terra Shard. As mentioned earlier, Terra now works just like in the main series games, and I can use Terra Shards to change my Pokemon's Terra type. I give the Ghost Terra Shard to Decidueye, as it boosts its Shadow Bone attack and provides some useful resistances. And on floor 107, I find another mystery encounter, Fight or Flight. If I can take down this strong Poliwhirl, I can claim a Reviver Seed as my reward, and thankfully Raygun is the perfect counter. A single Apple Acid takes it down, and I give the Reviver Seed to Hitmonchan, knowing that he'll be my most valuable piece in the upcoming boss battles. The last major highlight of the stage is the gym leader Marlon at floor 110. Though he has a strong team of fully evolved water types, I'm able to take him down easily enough with a combination of Raygun and Bradley. Stage 12 in the Seabed is where we'll tackle Team Magma once again. A double battle awaits at floor 112, and unfortunately this is where Team Magma starts to leverage their own weather control to set up the sun. Fortunately, Ludicolo is able to overwrite the sun with rain, so I'm able to clear the first battle with minimal casualties. The next battle at floor 114 though is against Courtney, another admin. I take down her Houndoom and Mightyena with rain boosted Revelation Dance, before Torkoal comes in to set up the sun. I defeat it just the same way, but I eventually switch Ludicolo out and back in again to reset the rain, after which I run through her remaining Pokemon with ease. I claim a PP up for Raygun's Revelation Dance before facing off against Maxi. He leads with Solrock, but switches to Talonflame, who falls to Revelation Dance. But Ludicolo can't do much to the Galarian Weezing who switches in, so I pivot to Ledecky and use Water Shuriken to take it down. Donphan and Solrock follow before Torkoal comes in again to override the rain, but a quick switch back into Ludicolo is enough to dismantle his strategy. I take down his Mega Camera up to finish the battle and claim a Focus Band for Little Mac. And while this battle couldn't have gone much more smoothly, I made a mental note of how pivotal Ludicolo's Drizzle would be in the rematch. I take down the remaining wild Pokemon with Raygun until I find a TM for Curse at floor 118. On most Pokemon, Curse offers a stat boost at the cost of some speed, but if used by a Ghost-type Pokemon, it inflicts a powerful damage over time effect at the cost of half the user's HP, which can be especially effective against some of PokeRogue's most fearsome bosses. I teach it to Decidueye over Leaf Blade, as while Leaf Blade is a fantastic move, Raygun has had me covered for Grass-type moves, and Curse was a boss solution which was too good to ignore. After another trainer battle at floor 119 and a boss Pokemon at floor 120, I move onwards to the next stage. For stage 13, we're in the Cave, which is one of the better biomes thanks to my great matchups against rock and ground type Pokemon. Though I don't get too much time to enjoy it as I face a trainer battle at floor 122. I best the duo with Little Mac and Ledecky, and use the attack boosts gained by Moxie to sweep through as many wild Pokemon as I can. At floor 124, I find a Memory Mushroom, which I use to teach Ledecky Uproar over Helping Hand, just for the rare cases where I find myself lacking coverage. I grab a Relic Gold at floor 126 to top up my coffers, and sweep through the rest of the wild encounters. That's it really, but considering the team hasn't struggled much since an Oricorio of all things, you won't find me complaining about a quiet stage. But stage 14 would be anything but quiet. This is the last full stage before another rematch with Ivy, so my priority is finding some solid upgrades. I find a Flying Terra Shard at floor 133, which I consider for a while as a ground immunity could be valuable against Maxi's team in the future, but I decide against it in the end. And at floor 136, I find an HP up, which I give to Raygun. I take down a trainer on the next floor and manage to swipe a Mystic Water with my Grip Claw in doing so, before finding yet another Master Ball. But honestly, I don't expect I'll have any use for this, especially considering I already have 2. So I opt for the Big Nugget instead. Before too long, I find myself at the end of the stage, facing Gym Leader Clay as my opponent. Thankfully, his ground types are powerless against Raygun's dance moves, and I sweep through his whole team with Revelation Dance and Apple Acid. With stage 15, the penultimate battle with Ivy draws near, and I've got just 5 stages to find as much power as possible. I grab an X special attack on the first floor, and an X defend on the second, before I find the Pokemon Salesman mystery encounter on floor 143. He's got a Baneri with its hidden ability for sale, and considering how flush with cash I am, it's definitely within budget. I buy it for completion's sake, but I don't add it to the team, as neither I nor chat could think of a relevant sport. After one final wild encounter, it's time to tackle Ivy. I lead with Wishy-Washy against her Empoleon, and I use Freeze Dry expecting a switch, but instead, Ivy terastallizes and stays in, dealing some decent damage to Ledecky before Empoleon falls. Rayquaza comes out, and here I'm met with a dilemma. With Ledecky at half HP, I don't have many great answers to this monster. I send out the second Wishy-Washy intending to use it as a sacrifice, but I'm completely thrown off when Rayquaza starts to prepare a Solar Beam. I take this as an opportunity to lower its attack and special attack with Tearful Look, and manage to land 2 before Wishy-Washy falls. With Ivy's Rayquaza severely weakened, I send in Raygun, who trades blows with Rayquaza easily to take it down with Ice Beam. Now that the greatest threat was neutralized, there was little to stop Raygun from breaking the enemy team. Get it? Breaking? Or at least that's what I thought would happen. Dragapult takes down Raygun, leaving Ledecky to clean up the rest of Ivy's team. I claim a Soul Dew as my reward to amp up Little Mac's speed as much as possible, and hurry through the remaining wild encounters this stage has to offer, finding an unexpected shiny charm at floor 148. While hardly the most significant upgrade, I have no reason not to take it, and after a few more battles, I wrap up the stage. We're off to the construction site for stage 16, and Team Magma will be the next major obstacle. I find another mystical rock at floor 152, which I give to Raygun to extend the duration of the rain even further. At floor 154, I find another Mystic Water, which I give to Ledecky as they've been a fantastic sweeper so far with Water Shuriken. And at floor 157, I find another mystery encounter, the Mysterious Chest. With this, I have a 65% chance of finding a nice reward, and a 35% chance of something terrible happening. With the team healthy and the end of the stage approaching, I take the gamble, only to be surprised when it actually works out in my favour. I grab another Quick Claw for Ledecky and hurry onwards to the stage boss, only to find the legendary Pokemon Cobalion. Chat agreed that with my team fighting fit, there wasn't any doubt that I would be able to beat it in battle. So with their permission, I threw a Master Ball at it for some extra candy. Faced with the choice of the Power Plant or Dojo, I headed to the Dojo for stage 17. The rematch with Maxi was approaching, and though my team was looking powerful, I'd have some fearsome opponents to tackle this time. I find a TM for Light Screen at floor 161, which only Decidueye can learn. I do consider it for some time as it provides a great boost to my team's defense, but Decidueye's move slots are already competitive enough. I nab an Egg Voucher Plus and a PP Max for Little Mac's Drain Punch in the following floors, before it's time to face off against Maxi. He leads with Typhlosion, who sets up Harsh Sunlight with its passive ability Drought. I pivot to Ludicolo to set up the Rain, while Maxi switches to Scovillain, but I'm able to take him down with a few attacks. Typhlosion returns to reset the weather once more, and while I try to weaken it with Raygun before I switch out, I'm thrown off guard by a critical hit. With Raygun KO'd, I'm unable to override the Harsh Sunlight, putting me at a serious disadvantage. Undeterred, I switch in Ledecky with the hope of using Water Shuriken to take Typhlosion down, but a low roll on the number of attacks results in my own defeat. With 2 of my most critical team members knocked out, things are starting to take a turn for the worst. I switch in Bradley as I suspect Typhlosion's low HP will incentivize a switch, though I'm uncertain of whether to set up a Shift Gear or use Parting Shot to weaken the opponent. I opt for Parting Shot, and thankfully it pays off. I debuff the Great Tusk that comes in, allowing me to switch in Little Mac with priority. While Great Tusk is still a major threat, even at -1, I know a Victory Dance would all but secure my victory, so I take the risk and manage to survive Great Tusk's Earthquake. Drain Punch only deals about 1/3 of its health as damage, so I gamble on a second Victory Dance and manage to just barely survive another attack. After a second Drain Punch, Great Tusk goes down, and with Moxie boosting my attack to +3, I'm confident that Little Mac will pull through for me. Groudon comes out, but even a sun-boosted Fire Blast isn't enough to stop these Fists of Fury. Ninetales, Mega Camerat, and Typhlosion all go down, and I find myself breathing a sigh of relief. I'd almost lost the challenge to a battle that would have been made trivial had I been more careful with my rain setter. But nevertheless, I claimed the lock capsule as a reward, as well as another soul due for Little Mac. Thankfully, the rest of the stage offers a much needed respite. Little Mac sweeps through the wild Pokemon with its boosted stats, and at floor 170, I find Maylene. She leads with a Paldean Tauros, but having learned my lesson to play it safe, I set up a victory dance with Little Mac and slowly but surely take down her team members, until Moxie boosts my attack to the max, ending one of the most challenging stages yet. Though we're back where we started in the plains for stage 18, we're much closer to the end by this point. I find my first experience share of the challenge at floor 171, and a handful of berries on the subsequent floors, though a trainer at floor 175 gives me more trouble than I anticipate. I'm able to take him down with Old Reliable, though not without losing my Reviver Seed on Hitmonchan to a careless mistake. Nevertheless, I continue undeterred, finding yet another mystery encounter at floor 177. This group of Delibirds should be familiar by now. I part with some cash in exchange for an amulet coin, which will hopefully prove a smart investment. At floor 178, however, I find something much more exciting. A Steel-type Terra Shard. As Steel is one of the best defensive typings in the game, this can be a valuable defensive tool. And though I've not made the best use of Terrestrialization in the challenge so far, I know I'll need it for some of the upcoming challenges. I give Little Mac the Steel Terra type as I expect the defensive typing to be critical against Rayquaza, and while I plan to replace Meteor Mash soon, it does increase the move's power in the meantime. With that, I reach the end of the stage, continuing onwards to the lake, where the Elite Four and Champion are waiting. Though I don't have any strong hopes for the Champion's challenge this time around, anything that can help me leverage the strength of my water types would be great to see. Unfortunately, I'm not so lucky, with my first opponent being Lorelei of the Indigo League. I'm able to use Raygun's Brute Force to take down Frostmoth, but Galarian Slowbro lands the KO after switching in. I bring in Ledecky, but Lapras comes in to not only nullify the attack, but use the rain against me with a super effective Thunder. Reluctant to lose another important Pokemon so early into the fight, I sacrifice the extra Wishy-Washy to get a clean switch into Hitmonchan. Lorelei brings in Jinx to threaten it, but the priority earned by Wishy-Washy's sacrifice gives me time to set up a victory dance. A single Meteor Mash takes down Jinx, and though Ice-Cube manages to tank a hit with its ability, Little Mac can no longer be stopped. I sweep through the rest of Lorelei's team and cross my fingers. Hopefully the rest of the Kanto Elite Four won't be quite as challenging. I claim an X special attack in the interim before facing Bruno at floor 184. I lead with Hitmonchan, hoping to replicate my game-winning strategy from the previous battle. Bruno switches to Flamigo after I set up with Victory Dance. But this is where my newly acquired Terra type comes into play. Though Steel has a poor matchup against fighting types, I'm certain that Flamigo is about to use a flying type attack. So I Terrestrialize and use Meteor Mash. My prediction is correct, but Meteor Mash misses, but Little Mac survives the super effective attack. A second attack after the defense reduction from Thunderous Kick takes Flamigo down, and with Hitmonchan's attack stat now at +2, I'm able to sweep through the rest of Bruno's team. Not quite the easy matchup I was hoping for after Lorelei, but Little Mac has certainly proven his efficacy once again. I take some time to heal up before the next battle, and after the scare from Meteor Mash missing, I decide it's finally time to overwrite the move with Ice Punch. I want Ice Punch for two reasons, both of which happen to be legendary, run-ending Dragon-type Pokemon who will appear in the next stage. No prizes for correct guesses, but it'll be a great help against Lance as well. But first, Agatha is up next. She leads with Cursula. While Ghost types mean Hitmonchan's best tools, Thunderous Kick and Drain Punch, are effectively useless, the tried and true strategy of sweeping with Victory Dance is still as effective as ever. At least it would be, if Cursula didn't burn Little Mac with Infernal Parade. With this, I'm forced to switch, so I pivot to Raygun and use Revelation Dance. Crobat comes in to take the hit, so I swap to Ledecky. With Rain Boosted Water Shuriken, I'm able to take down her whole team. Crobat, Cursula, Arbok, Gengar, Frostlass, and Alolan Marowak. I heal up my team before facing Lance, the last of Kanto's Elite Four. He leads with Salamence, but an Ice Beam from Raygun dispatches the dragon with ease. Alolan Executor follows, but his Dragonite outspeeds me and KOs Raygun with Hurricane. I send out Ledecky, who's able to take down Dragonite with Freeze Dry, as well as Tatsugiri, who comes out afterwards, but not before Ledecky's HP is lowered far enough that it transforms into its solo form. With this, I'm effectively forced to switch or to sacrifice Ledecky, so I allow my fishy friend to fall to Lance's Gyarados, in order to get a clean switch in. By this point, I'm hoping I've neutralized enough of Lance's team that I can set up a sweep. So I send out Bradley. I use Shift Gear while Lance switches to Aerodactyl. But now that Cyclizar is a Steel type with a +2 boost to speed, I'm confident that this battle is all but over. Both Gyarados and Aerodactyl fall to Supercell Slam, though not before Bradley misses an attack, nearly fainting from the crash damage. Kanto's Elite Four had certainly made me work for it, but at last I'd earned the right to face the champion, who of course could be none other than Blue. My biggest concern here is his Mega Pidgeot, who he sends out to check my lead Ray Gun. While I land some chip damage, I know Ray Gun can't survive a Hurricane, so I switch out to my Sacrificial Wishy-Washy to earn a free switch into Bradley. I set up a shift gear, but Blue switches to Machamp, who survives the Supercell Slam and retaliates with high horsepower. Thankfully, I land the second attack to take it down, but Electivire comes out next. With the rain still up, I'm left without a great answer to this Pokemon, so I pivoted to Simon with Parting Shot. Electivire paralyzes me with Discharge, but I'm able to force the switch into Ho-Oh. As fearsome as this legendary Pokemon could be, I'm confident that it can't do much to Ledecky in the rain. So I switch in to take the hit and KO the Electivire who switches in afterwards. Gyarados comes out and manages to KO Ledecky, but I send out Cyclizar hoping to force the switch. Thankfully, Alakazam comes in, giving me the chance to set up a shift gear and take it down. Gyarados falls as well, but before I can take down Ho-Oh, Supercell Slam misses again, causing Bradley to faint. With this, I'm in a tight spot. I send out Ray Gun to set up the rain and land a bit of extra damage before fainting. I Terastallize to Steel, hoping that the rain will safeguard me from any fire-type attacks, and try to set up a victory dance. But Blue switches to Mega Pidgeot. I attack, and thankfully Little Mac outspeeds, landing the KO with Ice Punch. I take down Ho-Oh to conclude what feels like one of the closest champion battles I've had. So at last, we've made it to the end once again. I claim 2x speeds and a Grit Claw from the last few wild encounters before the final rival battle draws near. Against Ivy, I lead with Ray Gun versus her Empoleon, and start off with a Leech Seed as a neutral play. But Ivy isn't messing around. She switches to Mega Rayquaza, so I pivot to our dear Sacrificial Wishy-Washy to burn a few turns while Leech Seed drains the behemoth's HP. Once Wishy-Washy faints, I send out Hitmonchan and set up a victory dance while Terastallizing to Steel type, in the hopes that I can shrug off a flying type move and counter with a knockout. Rayquaza attacks with Outrage, dealing just shy of half HP. But now I'm faced with a dilemma. If I attack and fail to KO, I could be at risk of losing my best sweeper. However, if Rayquaza lands a critical hit while I set up, I would lose any extra damage an Ice Punch would deal. I opt for a victory dance while Rayquaza remains locked into Outrage, successfully tanking the hit while my stats are raised even higher. I take the risk on one final victory dance to hit +3, shrugging off Rayquaza's attacks with my boosted defense and the sustain from Leech Seed. By this point, my hope is that Little Mac will be nigh unstoppable. Though Ivy switches to Empoleon, I take it down with a Dray Punch and a Thunderous Kick. Corviknight falls the same way, and by this point I'm a +5 with full HP. Snorlax, Dragapult, and Stonjourner all fall to a flurry of fighting type moves, and when Rayquaza returns to the field, a single Ice Punch fells the Titan with ease. Our battles with Ivy are over, but now all that remains is to tackle Eternatus. I heal up my team, claim my leftovers, and start my preparations for the final battle. I use my rerolls more aggressively to find useful X items, picking up 2x attacks, an X special defense, and an X speed. I also teach Helping Hand to our extra Wishy-Washy, as I expected its other moves wouldn't be of too much use. And with that, it's time for Eternatus. I lead with Ray Gun to set up the rain and use Leech Seed to start dealing damage over time. Eternatus deals heavy damage with Sludge Bomb, but with all of my sustain, I'm able to shrug off the attack pretty well. So I use Apple Acid to reduce its special defense. Ray Gun falls to the next attack, so it's time for part 2. Simon comes in to land a Curse, inflicting another powerful damage of time status. My HP falls to about a third, but with my setup complete, I switch into Wishy-Washy to tank a Flamethrower. My continued damage over time is enough to push Eternatus into phase 2. Where I use Wishy-Washy's Helping Hand to boost Ledecky's Freeze Dry. Ledecky takes enough damage to revert to its solo form and falls the following turn. Still keen to play it safe, I switch into Bradley and weaken Eternatus with a combination of Tearful Look and Parting Shot. I reapply the curse with Simon and use Parting Shot one final time to pivot to Little Mac. With Eternatus heavily debuffed by this point, I set up Victory Dance and take it down with Helping Hand boosted Ice Punch, bringing the challenge to a close. This was a really fun one. While damage over time effects aren't the most exhilarating way to finish off Eternatus, there had been a number of close calls throughout the run, from the battle with Maxi to a frightful little bird, with even the champion of Kanto giving us a run for our money. And tackling this challenge live on stream added to the pressure as well, but our band of sporty misfits had managed to come out on top. Thanks for watching. If you're keen to see more PokeRogue content, let me know what kind of challenges you'd like to see next. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out my other videos if you're hungry for more.